Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wirecast Live. I'm Andrew Haley, your host, and as you who may have been tuning in for all these shows, we are on episode 27, and it's been fun. We started this back earlier in the year, and we like to do a weekly broadcast at 2:30 this time Pacific on Facebook Live, and we try to pick interesting interviews, people that know a lot about certain areas, particularly live streaming. We also try to make this a learning corner where you can come ask questions, learn about Wirecast live streaming in general, or learn about some of the topics or areas that our guests are experts at. So today's guest is somebody who I'm very pleased to know and to introduce on the show, David Foster. He is a live streaming expert. In fact, he makes his business live streaming and is usually found streaming something to Facebook or YouTube every day, in and out. So this guy knows what he's talking about, and he's really in the trenches doing this every day. And I think for those of you that are particularly interested in live streaming, he is a good person to get to know because he's going to have some very hard-earned advice and some wisdom that he can probably share with you. So David is joining us live right now from Orange County, New York. For those of you who may not know that, there is an Orange County in New York, and I think David's going to let us know whether oranges actually grow there or not once he comes on. But David, are you there?
I am.
All right.
And that I know of, I've not seen an orange tree up here, so
Well, keep your eyes
it's
peeled.
like 20. Yeah, it's 20 degrees right peeled. I like the pun. That's great. But I don't think anything could grow right now in this place.
I would imagine. Pretty
Yeah.
cold up
Yes.
there, huh? Great motorcycle riding weather.
Oh yeah, and there's probably like 100 motorcycles down in the shop here. So I'm gonna at some point when it gets warm, I'm gonna grab one and I'm just gonna hit the road. So
This sounds good. I think you're in the right place for that. So, David, I want to say thanks for joining us. You are coming in live over Skype for us. We like to use our NewTek Skype talk show box provided to us, and it works pretty well right now. So, I mean, internet's good, bandwidth is good, we're getting good audio and good video. So, David, let's dive into it a little bit. For those of you, and I always start with this question, who may not know who you are or what you do, can you give us the high-level background a little bit of where you, how you got into live streaming and what your experience is?
sure. So I started out back in I think it was 2010. I was the CEO of a tech startup, and we made Facebook applications. And in my process of wanting to get engagement and get people on board with our apps, I decided to do a weekly video show, and then I was also doing a podcast, and that got me thirsty for making video and all the other stuff. And then I met Luria Petrucci, who she had been streaming since 2005. Now I had not done anything live; most of mine was just regular video. But then she got me into live streaming through whatever, like they were using Ustream at the time for their show, and she's been doing it since back in the days of I think an app called Kick or something like that. And so when we saw kind of where live streaming was going, and I saw Facebook Live was coming, we know the Periscope and Meerkat had come out. I was like, look, we got to get on this because this is going to be big. This is going to be the way people are going to consume their news in the future. This is going to be the way people consume their content. I mean, it's something we need to get on board with. And so we started looking for ways to get onto Facebook and go live. And so we started out as Geeks University, but then when we realized that live streaming was kind of the direction we wanted to go, because we were just going to teach video production and editing and being on camera, things like that, we decided, let's go all in on live, because we noticed a lot of people were searching it and all that stuff. And so we became live streaming pros just within the past probably 3 or 4 months, rebranded everything. And since doing that, we've been getting clients all the time. It's just been amazing. And just seeing all the people that are out there, getting into live streaming, I just know that it is the next big thing for marketers and small business owners. And so, we're kind of, Lurie and I are kind of the people, when we see an opportunity, we just move forward. So that's why I'm here now.
That makes a lot of sense. So where do you see live streaming in, say, 2 years, maybe 3 years?
Well, so live streaming really changes a lot of things for all of us because it's an instant way to connect with your customers, your fans, or whatever it is, and it's instantaneous. I mean, you're able to engage with people in time, and so for me, that's even like news and things like that. You're going to be able to have people answering questions and responding to feedback in real time. And so in 2 years, I think that this like the news channels, I think we're going to be watching our news anchors and everything on a Facebook Live or on Twitter Live or on some sort of, I don't know if Facebook is going to be the end all. There might be platforms that come out that are specifically for this, but and YouTube's even getting into it with YouTube Connect, which should be released. They keep saying soon. We're waiting for it. I just think that it's going to become the way that we consume content because of the way that we can engage in real time and getting that instant feedback. It's like if you watch a movie or you watch the news on TV, sure, you're taking information, but you're not really part of a community that is giving feedback and having a conversation. I mean, if you look at some of the live streams that are going on, not only are you having a conversation, in the content that you're providing, but the people are having a conversation below you, and there are real relationships being made in that as well. And so we have found that a community has been created within our page just in what we're doing in the short time that we're doing it. And these are people that, I mean, we have a group where everybody's helping everybody, and it's completely changed the environment of business, in our opinion, because of how connected you can be to your customer, your fan, or whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I talked to another business pro a little while back, and they had said that they really see the nature of business changing in the sense that brands are going to have to be much more interpersonal and be much more relating one-to-one, and not trying to hide behind some large corporate image, but getting a face in there in front of people and creating a community around whatever the product or business is. And that was just the way things had to be going now because go ahead.
And I was just going to say, so, when I was a CEO of a startup, I was very transparent. I mean, I shared my finances. I told people exactly where we were financially. I told them, I shared our meetings and everything we were doing. And my guys used to hate it because I was so transparent. But then when Facebook kept making change after change, and there was a time where we had just developed a new app, and then they changed to the timeline, and it completely rendered it useless. And we had spent like $300,000, and then we couldn't sell it because it didn't work. We were going to go broke. So I just came out and did a video, told my customers, we need help, or this is going to go out of business. We're going to have this big sale. Everybody gets a discount. Because I had said we wouldn't run any sales on this product anymore, but I wanted to let them know we had to. Right. And customers that I had bought again just because I had been transparent. So, I truly believe that this is a way that people can be transparent in business because people don't want to see the logos anymore. They don't connect with the Coca-Cola. They can right. Or Progressive Insurance. They connect with Flo, right? The girl. Right. And so you're connecting with people. So people need to learn to come out behind the suit. Don't be a stiff. Be a real person, and live forces you to do that because who's going to sit there and watch some person that's not personable?
Right. Yeah, and I think that's completely right. That the mascot has been the way that brands are beginning to have tried to connect with customers. And you can think of like Jack from Jack in the Box, and the Affleck duck and the gecko from Geico and all that stuff, and like they become these like human, relatable characters that are the face of the brands, and clearly live streaming is the way that anybody can now do that across the board for whatever business, whether you're large or small. When you're getting in the business of helping others with live streaming, what are some of the challenges that you're facing with that? Moving from, say, your tech startup into transitioning into this role where you're having to not only live stream frequently, but then show people and teach people how to live stream and then pull in clients that you can then advise or consult with. Are you going to be able to scale that? Is that something, are you just saying kind of like, well, this is sort of where we're at. We're going to take as much business as we can handle, but that's sort of it. It's enough to make a comfortable lifestyle, but it's not necessarily what you would think of as a traditional business. Are a lot of them going to this lifestyle type business where you take on as much as you can and that's all you do? Or is this something you're trying to build into a much larger presence?
Well, the thing that I like about live streaming is there are a bunch of barriers to entry. There's a really low barrier and there's a really high barrier depending on the quality that you want. So we teach people there are 4 levels of live streaming. So level 1 would be with your phone, just Renegade, pulling it up, hey, I'm live, everybody, hi, whatever. Level 2, adding some gear to your phone. Level 3, Wirecast, OBS, that kind of thing. And then level 4, a dedicated machine. And so with it being such a low barrier of entry, we've positioned ourselves as the people that you come to for, getting started. So, hey, pull out your phone. What do you talk about? How do you engage people? It's like we'd had the conversation starting 10 minutes early and introducing people and that kind of stuff. And then we also have the higher clients up to the level 3 and 4 where we consult them and actually watch their streams and stuff like that and help them get them better. And we do full on, like I'm doing 2 this month where I'm flying into people's homes and I'm actually setting up their studio with a dedicated box. And I have another one in January, and this isn't even something we were planning on doing. So, I think that it is, because there's so many levels that people can enter at, a very viable product and something that we're going to be able to do very well with because of the positioning that we have, made in this industry now. And fortunately, like I said, if you just have a phone, you can do it. And if you want to do TV quality, there's the Wirecast, the boxes and stuff like that to do that. So there's so many different avenues people can go with it.
Mm-hmm. As far as like measurable results, like what are you telling people? Why is it worth it to spend? Like when should you move from a level 1 to a level 2, 3, or 4? When should you spend that money that's going to be required for a nice internet connection, a good computer, good cameras, good audio, microphones, I assume some lighting? How do you know when you're at that next level, and what are the benefits of going to those levels?
Well, you do have to stair step your way. I mean, there are some people that come out and they don't want to do anything. They got the budget to just jump right to level 4, right? Mm-hmm. But for us, it's like if you're starting at level 1, first commit. Okay, first thing you got to do is you got to commit. You got to know that it's something that you want to do, because we teach people that you want to try to do a regular timed show. Mm-hmm. So like ours is at 10 a.m. every single weekday. Till 10:30, and it's every single weekday, right? So people build a habit around that content. But then we also teach people to supplement with, their phone or whatever, just like doing random streams, just giving updates or whatever. So, I think the most important thing is just making sure that they know the commitment level that it's going to take to make this work. Because if you commit to it, we saw sales with our first couple live streams of people buying the courses that we had set up to teach people to get started. So, and we have people that are doing live streams from their phone that are driving people into their restaurants. We have, like from here, I did a live stream. Now this was a level 4 live stream where we were mentioning products like this, and we sold 29 shirts during an hour or a 3-hour long live stream, which equated to about $3,500 in sales. Mm-hmm. So it's just about making sure that you can commit to it, and if you can, then stair step your way once you see that you're going to get the engagement. But the thing is too, you got to be careful because you don't want to have really bad quality. Because if your audio is bad, if you're one of those people that's just like shakes their phone and it's all over the place, you're not gonna. People aren't gonna like flock to you, right? So the if you can jump to a level 3, which is where we try, that's like where we try to push people to. Do the level 1, level 2, but if you're gonna do this as a business, we all know that you have to put in a little skin in the game. And for Wirecast, $500 is not a lot of skin to put in the game, right?
Right.
To get a professional TV. I mean, look at what you're looking at right here in front of us. This is TV quality, right? You're seeing this on CNN and all the news channels and stuff. And for $500, I mean, look at that barrier of entry. That's really low, and it's much more credible. People take this much more seriously when they see this, and it's because we jump to that level. When we jump to level 4. We have much more credibility in the industry because people see our streams and they're like, holy cow, these people know exactly what they're doing. And that's why we suggest, if you have the budget and if you want to be taken seriously in this industry, to try to get to level 3 as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And so your goal to anybody who's getting into the business of helping other people with their live streaming or as a business, then your recommendation is don't try to be a live streaming expert with your phone. 'Cause
Yeah.
no one's going to believe it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can take and get gear for your phone and make it look a lot better, but you're still on your phone. And yeah, I mean, because you can't do the lower thirds, you can't do double screens, you can't do like the scrolling graphics you have. I mean, your options are very limited.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and one of the things that we keep finding with Wirecast is that it's amazing. People keep getting blown away with what they can do with the software and with what the features that we packed into it. I mean, the whole idea that this 30 years ago, this broadcast would have taken hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and now every year things get smarter and cheaper, and computers get faster and everything. And so we're now at the point where you can do this stuff. You can do ESPN level effects and things like that with a fraction of the budget. And that's just true with any type of technology over time. And I think we're finally at that point where live streaming tech is it's cheap enough and the barrier to entry is low enough that just about everyone can do it, which can make it popular. Do you think there's going to be a problem finding content in this new age of information?
I really don't. I mean, it's like there's content all over the place. I mean, it doesn't, like, people are always like, even a dentist, is talking to us and it's like, what could I talk about? But you can talk to other dentists about best practices or whatever. I mean, there's always something. If you sit there and you think about it, you can come up with, like, every single person that we've consulted, there's people that come in to talk to us and they have an idea of something they want to do, and by the time they leave, it's completely different than what they thought they were going to do, and they're like, holy cow, we never thought of that. We can do this, and we can do a course on this because we've done this. And it's like, you just have to sit there and kind of think about your demographic, the people that you're trying to target, and how can you help them. Because there's, no matter what, if you're doing it through blog posts, you're doing it through videos, you're doing it anyway. So you just have to throw live streaming into the mix. And I don't think there's anybody other than maybe a financial advisor. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, there's some of those things out there that they have so many regulations that I don't know how you would get around that stuff. But for the most part, I think anybody can do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some of the comments coming in, and we have a good active comment community. So guys, keep leaving these. Luria is on the forum answering questions and commenting. So thank you, Luria, for popping in there and helping folks. But lots of good discussion there. So some of the things I want to pull out here are Petra has mentioned that, say, a Wirecast gear is what she would consider a level 4 because it's a ready to go, out of the box live streaming studio, and it can let you do professional level stuff like this. One of the things about that, though, is that you're not having to set all that up yourself. And so it comes pre-configured. So in some ways it saves you headaches, but it certainly gives you a lot of the flexibility of the power that you just couldn't get with a level 1 or level 2, and that kind of thing.
Well, and another thing that I always tell people too is, like, I would never personally do a regular show over Wi-Fi. I'm always going to want to be plugged in because I don't want the quality ever to, if something goes wrong, it's got to be like Mother Nature's fault, right?
Right.
Not because something that I've done. And so I think that that's another part of the professionalism of doing a professional stream, is not relying on Wi-Fi over a phone or something to do it.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. The flexibility, the reliability, and the consistency is huge. And then Petra, she also brought up this great point about the Netherlands, where they're actually doing their national news, sort of, or major news broadcast, will just do snippets or clips of the Facebook interviews that they stream, much longer interviews on their Facebook channel with. So this idea that extra content, almost like the bonus features on a DVD, that's a great thing to stream to Facebook and social media and live, because you've got all that extra content. And then, of course, when you're going really big with the other stuff, you don't have time to go too deep into any one topic. So you can put all that extra good content on the Facebook stuff. That's a good point. Now, not every one of us have a national news broadcast channel available to us, but
Right.
it's interesting how even the big broadcasters are making use of these same channels that we have available.
Well, but the thing is, like, so if let's say that was something you were passionate about, you could take the news that you're getting, and you could do your own news, like your own take on news. I mean, if there's something that you want to do, there's ways to find to do it. If you feel like you have to go live, which I recommend because it is addictive. So
It is. Once you get into it, it's really fun. You get into a rhythm. You feel like your speaking skills get better. Your ums and ahs and pauses and hms, all that just kind of, you have to learn to get over that stuff, and that just helps you become a better speaker in general. Looking back at some of my early broadcasts there versus what I do now it's a pretty big difference. So I'm pleased with how far I've been able to come with some of those skills, and that's because I've been forced to do it on a week on off basis.
Yep.
And Deborah Lee's nodding in agreement there back in the studio. So there's other good comments here. We have, if you guys have questions, feel free. We will keep talking about some of this stuff. But if you have, troubleshooting, or if you'd like David or I to give you some advice or some suggestions, or Luria in the comments there, please type those in. One guy was asking if he had a 6-core Mac, Mac Pro would be a level 4, and I would agree with that as well. A very powerful machine that you spend a lot of money on is you're already getting up into the higher levels of capability.
Yeah, so I would call that a level 3, just because you're going to use software, right? So you're going to use Wirecast or OBS to run the live stream. So the reason I jump level 4 to a dedicated machine is because it has all of the hardware already installed to plug your cameras in and out of. So with any kind of computer, a Mac or a PC or whatever, you have to maintain that computer. You have to make sure that you're going to have dongles all over the place and converters and everything running your cameras. Whereas a dedicated machine has all of that there, so it's pretty much plug and play.
Right.
You just get more options with like switchers and stuff, like switchboards and everything, which you can use with a computer. But I just find that when the maintenance of the machine is more on me than on it being made for live streaming, that I consider level 3. So it doesn't matter how big the computer, you are at a higher level than most people as far as what you can put out, how many cameras you can put out, how much the bit rate you can push out, the quality of the stream, etc. But not, the level 4 is like the dedicated machine.
Yeah, and Rusty actually backs you up there in the comments. He's saying, that dedicated PC or Mac is not a dedicated machine. It's used for other things. It's not coming with pre-installed cards and so forth. So
right.
He's calling a level 3.5 there. I'm not sure if you do half levels.
Yeah, we do like 2.5. The Mevo camera, which I have here, that we consider that a 2.5 because so you're still not able to bring in graphics and all this other stuff. So it is a step above because you can simulate different camera angles, but it's not true camera angles. So we kind of throw that into the 2.5 category.
Got it. So is the main idea behind live streaming, or the purpose behind live streaming is, I'm sure you've started to develop some core principles, something like engage with your customers or your audience, give them good content, learn ways to drive them to whatever it is that pays your bills, right? So if that's your business, you need ways to make it easy for them to purchase whatever it is that you have to offer. But most of what you're offering is, just good content and freedom. Are there other goals behind live streaming? Is it to be a content expert or a subject expert?
Yeah. So like you're saying, you want to be authentic. That's huge. And always have a call to action. Engage with your community. And what did you say?
I said be a content expert or
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because so whatever you're talking about. So for instance, live streaming, we have become basically experts in that category, and so you can do that through live streaming because you look at it's impossible to BS people live because
that's true.
They will see right through you because they're engaging you in real time, and if they're asking you questions and your answers are they're going to be like this person that doesn't really sound like they know what they're talking about, right? So you have to know what you're talking about more because you're answering, if you're doing it the right way, you're engaging. So the way we do it is we do our show, we start the show, we do some content, then we go to comments, and then we do some content, then we go to comments. So if you're doing that and you actually are engaging your community, you better know what you're talking about.
So in a sense, we're all becoming daytime talk show hosts.
That's exactly what we're becoming. And that's the whole, like, our live streaming pros courses, it's called Start My Show and Grow My Show, because that's what people are doing nowadays. When we started digging into all the people that we were getting taking our courses on live streaming, they were all working on starting their own shows. They wanted a show about authors, like writing books. They wanted a show about this, a show about the outdoors. And we're like, that's interesting. So we need to gear our content around starting a show, and then once you have a show, growing it. Because let's face it, this is a show that I'm on right now. This is your live show, and so we are talk show hosts.
Now this is risky, because I would say that your show is, just being honest here, is probably not the most watched show on Facebook, right? So as far as when it comes to being an expert and growing a show, how do you become an expert in something that's it's still a niche, right? Because you're never going to have the most massive audience for that show, because it's very a select type of interest. Where do you learn or gain the principles that you're trying to teach for something like that?
Well, so if you take a regular page where you're doing just regular everyday content, you're doing blog posts, you're doing videos, and you look at the rate of growth with that compared to the rate of growth with live. So I had a page where we were just doing content, and this was our just regular page. And we started them basically at the same time. We were able to grow our page to nearly 5,000 fans in like 5 months. So basically 1,000 a month. Whereas if you do regular content and stuff like that, it does not grow as fast. And it depends too on the audience that you might already have. So there are some variables there. But we're talking about starting a page from complete scratch, nobody knowing who we were, what we were about, and building it to that, and having a consistent viewership. So that is growth. I mean, we're not trying to teach people to get to 1 million fans, because you don't need that, right? We just want you to grow to a audience that is, like Cliff Ravenscraft is somebody he does the podcast Answer Man, and he has made all of his money basically from 11 people out of the time that he's done this, right? So you don't need a huge audience. I mean, we're basically making an annual income off of just our courses and the private consults and studio builds that we're doing. So, how do you measure growth? It's everybody wants to think that it's thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but it's not. It's to where you're growing enough to make a living doing what you love to do.
That makes sense. And if it's sustainable is really where you're at. And then
exactly.
So let's talk about the differences in platforms, because I think one of the things about Facebook is it has all this shareability, has that connectedness. We have comments coming in, people, we can find their profile. It's very easy to know who's engaging with you, reaching out to them. There's built-in messaging and all that stuff. But Facebook is not necessarily ideal for all types of live streaming. Why and when? What are the advantages that you see, and when should somebody be using something like YouTube or Ustream or another type of live streaming platform, Periscope? Where do you see the value in those versus, say, the value in Facebook?
Well, see, we personally, every show we simulcast to YouTube, two Periscope accounts, and Facebook. So our show is on all of those at the same time. And to be honest, we get more viewers on Periscope.
Easier
and
to find
Periscope, and Periscope is actually way better quality than Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it, but so we don't really tell people what we tell people as far as that goes. Is you just need to be where your demographic is. And we have found that simulcasting it is probably the best option, because there's no reason. I don't know of anyone who should not be on Facebook. I don't know a reason that you would choose Facebook or YouTube over Facebook, because the thing about YouTube right now in its current form is there's not much discoverability. Periscope, there's a little bit, but not much. But Facebook is where the discoverability is, because I can spend, if I want to, $3 or $5 promoting boosting one of our videos after it's over to kind of gain that new audience. I don't have that option really on the other platforms. And so growth is stifled a little bit on YouTube and all that because you don't have those options. So I really don't think there's ever a reason not to do Facebook.
Do you try to tell people go to livestreamingpros.com to watch the show, or do you say, just watch us on Facebook or YouTube or Periscope? Or if you're saying, hey, if you're watching us, I mean, when you're trying to do those call to actions and try to get your audience to know, how are you communicating that with them during your broadcast to make sure that they're seeing it on the right platform for them and that you're getting the likes or the follows or the engagement that you're looking for on the separate, platforms? What's your strategy for that?
Yep. So we have, tell people to follow us whatever they're on. So if they're on Facebook, we're like, hey, make sure you live subscribe if you're on Facebook, like us on Periscope or whatever. We just give the call to action that's the same for everyone, no matter what platform they're on. Mm-hmm. But the most important thing that we tell people is do not be on the platform if you don't plan to monitor comments. Mm-hmm. So if you cannot handle 3 platforms, don't go on 3 platforms. Don't go on YouTube if you're not going to watch the comments and bring them to participate as well. Right. Because I always use this analogy. It's like if you are in a retail store and you walk in to buy, you're ready to buy jeans, and you walk in and you're saying, hey, I want to buy jeans, and nobody answers you. You had a bad experience and you're probably never going to come back. And right. So that one person that could be on YouTube could be your best customer, and they're asking you questions and you never engage them, and they feel like, well, why are you even live and saying participate in the conversation? You didn't say just on Facebook.
Yeah.
So be there and conversate. And there's an app that a plugin for Chrome you can get to monitor Periscope to where you can keep the comments and not have them go away. Mm-hmm. So we recommend people get that as well.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So just, if you're going to simulcast, be on all the platforms that you're going to be on so that you can monitor those comments and respond to people.
How do you keep track of those comments? Do you, when you're live streaming, do you have a separate computer? Do you use an iPad? Do you just use a Chrome browser and you have Facebook pulled up? Use your phone, huh?
I'm sitting right here with my phone monitoring this right now.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So, so what Luria does, I have never seen anybody monitor comments the way she does. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. She has 3 windows open on her laptop, and she'll have Facebook on one side, YouTube, and then Periscope, and she literally watches all 3. Mm-hmm. I can't do it. I watch one. I watch Facebook. That's all I can handle. Mm-hmm. And so I'll be watching that, and she'll do the other 3. She's doing it by herself right now and still monitors them all. So we just make sure that we give our meat of our content, and then we go, okay, so like you're doing, you're mm-hmm. going back, then you answer some questions, then you go back to the meat and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Makes sense. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it in the end. And I think that one of the things I'm really excited about is when we are able to make that easier for our broadcasters. Because one of the things we want to do is make Wirecast's value propositions that much better. And so when you can start monitoring all your comments and your cameras and your lower thirds and even putting titles or comments into the lower thirds as you're talking or taking those questions, that's where we're going to be. So I'm excited when we launch that. For now, you can put
come on, Wirecast.
Twitter comments in. Yeah. We're getting there. Don't worry. So, but yeah, I think that's where we're going with this. Awesome. So, have you had any experience? Have you tried any extra type of streaming? Have you tried any VR streaming? Have you tried any 360 streaming? Anything like that?
I have a Rico Theta back here, mm-hmm. and I've tried, and I would actually like to talk to you about that because mm-hmm. I guess the software's been updated to where it's easier, but I don't know how to do it through Wirecast. I only have an instructional to do it through OBS.
Okay.
And OBS, honestly, for me, is I just have too many hassles with it, and I don't even like to open it on my machine.
It's a pain to use.
It really is, and that's why I stopped. If people are like, I don't have a budget or whatever, okay, there's your one option. I'm going to preface that with good luck. But as far as the Rico, I would like to get into a little bit of 360 because I got the VR goggles now, and I think it's kind of gimmicky right now. I don't know that there's ever going to be other than maybe experiences with like concerts or events or something like that where you're going into that environment. But like news or like what we're doing, I just don't see it being a fit. You know what I mean? It's kind of gimmicky at this point, but I still am interested in the technology.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be happy to talk with you about that. We were doing some experiments with Wirecast 360 streaming just the other day, so be happy to talk with you a little bit about that. It's interesting. The codecs aren't ideal for it yet. H.264 is a little underpowered for that much frame, but it works. You can do it. You just need kind of a beefy little computer and plenty of bandwidth.
Well, then Facebook's rolling it out now,
Uh-huh.
so you should be able to do it on Facebook here soon. YouTube already has it, so.
Yeah, we were doing some experiments with YouTube 360 streaming. The main thing to know in Wirecast is you can set your canvas size to a custom size. So all you need to do is set it to like a equirectangle or whatever. Our math expert in the studio will know. But basically, you just want it large enough that you can wrap. And Facebook and YouTube, I think, have recommended size settings. So as long as you're not going way too large and you just stay to like a 1440 by 2880, or 2880 by 1440, it can wrap. The player will wrap it. And the only thing is that sometimes you have a seam where it wraps. And if you're getting that seam, it's because of the anti-aliasing Wirecast will do. So the way to get around that is you just set your content in your Wirecast canvas just up by 1 pixel and off by 1 pixel, just to take that anti-aliasing edge off the canvas itself. And then when the seam wrap happens, it should just be seamless.
Well, I'm kind of anxious to try that because I've wanted to do it just for fun. I mean, it's something new. We're like techie people. So.
Yeah, totally. And you're gonna want a bandwidth. You're gonna want an upload of probably north of 10, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I've almost got that here. I got 100 at home, but like here I'm like so frustrated because the internet is horrible around this office. But I'm fixing that. I'm putting a mesh in.
So. You are? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. David, you've been great. I think if you guys have any questions for David or for me, please type those in. We're happy to take those. And I think we've talked about going live with this show, simulcasting it. We hadn't taken that leap yet because we just post all of it after the fact on YouTube. But we're at the point where we've got a verified Wirecast account on Periscope. We've got our verified Wirecast, our Wirecast page on YouTube. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't start simulcasting this bad boy as well.
Yeah, no, I would.
I think we're going to start that. So let's see, David. I think a couple other questions, and then we'll wrap up here. What is the thing that you would recommend as far as a starting budget for someone who's growing their show? And I'm sure you probably cover this in your content in your courses. But what do you think it would take someone to get a decent setup? Are they needing are you talking like $1,000? Are you talking $2,000, $5,000? Where are you recommending people kind of set aside or plan to spend to kind of jump to that level 3 sort of level?
Yeah. So basically, you can do it with a Logitech C920 webcam, right? So you could do it literally for about $600 if you want to just be a baseline streamer. And I'm using the Logitech C920 right now. And I have a good microphone. I got the blue raspberry. That's what I'm using. And that's about $100. So about $700, you can have a very minimal setup with Wirecast. Now, I'll preface that again with when you go to level 3, you're gonna need a good laptop, a good machine. Doesn't have to be a laptop, but a desktop machine that has like a quad-core processor. I mean, what are the minimum specs that you guys recommend for Wirecast?
I recommend. There's minimum settings and there's recommended. I recommend a quad-core i7, and then 16 gigs of RAM, and that's kind of my basic minimum.
That's what I say too. So if you don't have that. This is what I tell people. So if you don't have that and you're going to have to buy that, you might as well look at jumping right to level 4 if you already have a laptop that you're using, right? If you're going to buy a laptop just because you need it to live stream, you're about $2,000 in there for a decent laptop. I mean, well, that's not. There are lower price laptops, but you get what you pay for.
Right.
So you're almost to a Wirecast gear at that point, right?
Right.
So you have to decide whether it's worth that extra jump. But then you would want like a regular camera, and you can get a I don't have one here right now, but a Vixia G20 is about, you can get them for about $550, and that's a full 1080 HD camera. I'm using 3 of those in the studio next door. So if you have to buy your own computer, it's going to be about $3,000 or $4,000. But like I said, you can start at like 600, $700.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then it is definitely not the worst barrier of entry, especially if you have a decent computer already. I would
Yeah.
highly. You can just kind of get going. And now, if your computer's old, out of date, long in the tooth, yeah, you're looking at several $1,000s more.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do, so, and this is what I always tell people too, make sure you download a trial because you can download Wirecast for free as a trial before you buy it on the machine that you have, because you want to make sure it can run it first. Because if you dump $500 and then you realize it doesn't work, I mean, they'll help you out, but then you got to get a machine. You're not going to be too happy. So
Right.
always download the trial, check out your computer, and then make the decision to do what you got to do after you figure out whether it works or not. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So I think that, and one of the things with Wirecast gear we make as one of the value propositions of that is that it is an open system. It is a Windows 10 computer, and you can load whatever you want on there. So if you plan on, you had to buy a new computer anyway, you might as well just buy the gear. You get the capture card already installed. We take care of that. Wirecast's already loaded on there. But in addition, it's now quite a nice computer. It's not a laptop in terms of portability, but it's still quite portable. And
Yeah,
it
no, and
works.
you can actually run your Adobe Premiere on there. You can run your Adobe thing, so you can edit and everything, pull in all your graphics and all that right on the machine, because it's actually better than the machines you're going to, because those things are made for processing power. So you've got a better machine than you would get as a computer, really.
Most of the time, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, that's good advice. David, is there anything else? Where can people find more information? We've talked about the live streaming pros. Where's the best place to go to get information from your company and live streaming pros?
Yeah, just go to livestreamingpros.com, and then if you want to follow us on Facebook, it's at livestreamingpros, and we're live every day from 10 to 10:30 Pacific, and we give a ton of information. We have great interviews. We really love to give, because we understand that small business owners and entrepreneurs don't always have a budget to get started. So, we try to help you get started for free. You've got a live streaming device in your hand most of the day. So don't ever use that as an excuse like, I can't go live. Yes, you can. Just start doing it. You'll find that you love it. And then when you're ready to step it up, let us know and we'll help you.
Cool. Well, David, it's been really great. I think we'd love to have you back on and talk a little bit more about Orange County Choppers and some of the stuff that
Anytime.
you're doing with some of the high-end streaming shows that you're doing. So I'd love to chat and pick your brain on that stuff. But for
Yep,
today, I
anytime.
think we'll call it a day. And David, you've been great. I really appreciate you tuning in. And if you want to stick around in the comments, we'll just stick around a little bit longer if people have any troubleshooting questions.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks so much.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Well, that was David Foster from Live Streaming Pros. Awesome guy, all around great dude. Knows a lot about live streaming, and clearly is kind of on the cutting edge of how to build a business and grow a business, particularly around live streaming on Facebook. You also heard he's on YouTube, Periscope, and all those platforms. So I always learn a lot from these interviews. I think one of the things I like most about this is I get to think about the problems that we face, because we do a live streaming show every week, and we try to offer valuable content. But one of the things we always are learning is how to do a better job, how to give you more content, how to engage with you better, how to market the content so that people know what they're getting before they get there, and then how to give them what they were expecting. So hopefully with more conversations with guys like David, we will continue to give you a better show week in and week out. And we do have some cool stuff planned for 2017. And on that note, next week, we are having a special contest. So we are doing a Christmas-themed show in honor of the holiday that's coming up, and we will be holding a ugly sweater contest live and on air. So you should definitely tune in for that. We'll also be doing a quick tour around the office for that. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun. So tune in next Thursday for that. It should be a blast. Hopefully, we're going to be doing some technical stuff with some wireless cameras and things like that. So it should be a fun one and a potential disaster, and could be as ugly as the sweaters we're going to be showing off. So if you guys are in town, town or around on Facebook, please tune in for that. And otherwise, we will see you after the holidays. And thanks so much for watching. And thanks so much for contributing and commenting. As always, it's been a pleasure. And we'll see you next time. This has been Wirecast Live.